I think it's a very good family concern again.
Yeah. One of the greatest things you've achieved in the last few years is establish or help establish the Stockmans Hall of Fame. Can you tell me how that actually got started? Where did the idea come from?
Well, a couple of young fellows came up here to where you are now with the idea. One of them was an American boy who'd associated with the American Hall of Fame in Oklahoma. And I contacted old Bob Catter, who's the father of the present Bob Catter that's in Parliament. And old Bob was a very wise old politician. And we travelled the country looking for what potential, what ideas, what suggestions. For instance, we were offered Black Mountain in Canberra. We were offered the head of the range here in Toowoomba. We were asked if we could start it at Rockhampton in the Gardens. We could have had land at Alice Springs. The Victorians wanted us badly to go there and so on. And it fell into the doldrums, the idea, because we couldn't raise enough money or raise enough enthusiasm to put over a big project. So I suggested that it would be a good idea if we built a stone building there just to show what could be done. And I went out there for about 12 months and built the cottage just to show what the stonework could be done and how it could be done and what it would cost and so on. It's on the road to Ayers Rock, if you like, and tourist-wise, it'll be the biggest project west of Brisbane, between, say, Brisbane and Ayers Rock, if you like. Tourists will come through here, but apart from that, it is central to the west. Sort of took the public's imagination as to what could be done. And we had a lot of very influential people join us. Mr. Cowley very kindly took up the cause and became chairman and helped us along. And I think because of the influence of people like Mr. Cowley and also James Walker, the whole thing became a national project. And of course, as you know, when the bicentennial came along, Bob Hawkes joined in, God bless him. Everybody knows in Central Queensland where the mountains flow, for all to see out on the Western Plains, how the sand is spread its Stockmans Hall of Fame. They say around Wisdom Honey. Now, Reg, when people leave or when people go and visit the Hall of Fame, what do you want them to take away when they've been there? What do you want want them to realise that our pioneers lived a slightly, not slightly, but a great deal different life to what they now have, but we are, or our society is what our pioneers made us, of course. And we've tried to bring to the remembrance of the future generations the kind of life and the kind of people that made us those. They were men who rode the ranges and the lonely sunburned plains. They were squatters, rigged rovers, young and old who held the reins. They battled flooded rivers and the years of stories drought. They helped to build foundations in the places further out. They pioneered the frontiers long before the motors came. Now they hold a place of honor in the Stockmans Hall of Fame. They're Australia's unsung heroes and we're proud to place their name on a roll in Longreach, Stockmans Hall of Fame. Part of this bush tradition, which you seem to represent in Australia, you're probably the archetypal bushman. Part of that is
is the poetry. Now, you very early on developed a liking for poetry. Where did you get that from, do you think?
I like the poetry of the people who put rhythm into their verse, and that's why I like Ogilvy so much, because he was a person who lived in the bush, and his poetry has great rhythm to it. And Adam Lindsay Gordon was another one that had the same facility to put great music into there. You know, over the rolling I see, I go, I cannot run away. He was a great man for the rhythm in his verse, and so was Ogilvy.
Yes. Well, of course, you published your own book.
I can't take the credit for this, it was my gathering, but Mr. Ken Cowley, who runs the News Limited, he contributed all the artwork and put together a very special paper and special print. And, it was, if it hadn't been for his generosity, the thing would never have been printed, but I'm rather proud of the selection, just the same, because in there are the things that I love the most in Australian poetry.
The book, this book shows that the Australian bush is a very romantic place. Did you find it a lonely place as well?
Oh, no. The bush has friends to greet him in their kindly voices. When you're living in the bush as a child, there's no television or no telephone, there's no neighbours, and there's no talk much between people, so you do, I suppose, develop to be more of an individualist than probably you would now.
Throughout the whole history of Australia, the bush and the city have been very separate. Is it always going to be that way?
I think there's two things to keep in mind, and that is that all civilization is based on supply of food and, of course, water. And if those two factors are kept as primary objectives by any government, they can't go far wrong, because the production of food and the production of water are the two main things which will make both a city and a civilization grow. Water is something that should be attended to as national projects.
Are you an optimistic man?
I'm rather impressed with the ability of the young people of this generation. I think they're much smarter than the generation of the horse and buggy days, much more knowledgeable.
And what would you tell them that they should do, the way they should look at life?
Before they play, to get a good economic base for their lives. After they've got an economic base, cost them whatever time it may be, before they start to play or waste their time. Also, there's so much to learn to become masters of your environment, whatever that environment may be, whether you're a doctor or whatever. Worlds to conquer in every branch of human activity.
I know this might be a silly question for a man who's done so much in his life, but is there anything you haven't done that you wish you had?
Lots of things. Lots of things. Wouldn't you like to think that your grandfather and your great-grandfather left you a document to say what they'd learned in life? And did they? No. Well, I think it's very important that we should pass on to our future generations, their own family, if you like, or the rest of the things we've learned. But very few books of wisdom have been printed that way. I suppose there are a lot of them. Confucius did it, but one of the main ones we've got is old Solomon. But I think we can update Solomon a bit. In fact, that's a bit arrogant, I suggest, but it has been put to me that perhaps I should update Solomon. I might have a go at that someday. But I would still like to do something along those lines, to bring to future generations the knowledge that I've gained and so on, the experience and mistakes I've made and so on. That's one thing. That's quite a big job. I would like to establish on a good sound basis the cattle stations that our boys are settling and developing now. I don't think there's a great deal left that I could achieve.
How would you like to describe yourself? How would you like to be remembered? Do you have any words that work for you?
Oh, somebody that tried.
Simple as that. Huh?